This is the Sports Source, presented by Junk Be Gone and Renewal by Anderson. Now, your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into another gray, rainy Sunday here in East Tennessee. I should say here in Rangoon. It's the typhoon season in Southeast Asia. But despite all the gray skies, lots of smiles and happiness from Vol fans today because Tennessee exacted their revenge, flipped the script on Kentucky almost 100%. So we'll talk about that. Lots to talk about there. We'll also talk about the fact spring practice starts this week. There's never a loss of topics here on the Sports Source. Let's dive into it. We've got the first segment brought to you by our friends at Renewal by Anderson. And it is National Replacement Window Month at Renewal by Anderson right now. Buy one, get 30% off another window or patio door. Scheduled by March 31st, and there is no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months. You can't beat that. You can't beat their windows and doors. They are known as the best, most energy efficient, best looking in America. Renewal by Anderson. You see how to get in touch with them there. Let me welcome in round one of our panelists today, and we do have a packed house. We got some new folks and some old folks joining us again right here. Mark Pancrath, former Pancratz, didn't say your name right, former Vol assistant coach, former D1 basketball player under Bruce Pearl, coached here under Pearl and Conzo Martin. Right there, VFL Isaiah Victor back with us all the way from Kentucky. Thanks for coming down, Isaiah.
Thanks for having me, man.
Right down there, Josh Ward from WNML 990 and 99.1, and right over there, Mike Strange, Hall of Fame sports writer here in the state of Tennessee. As I said, Tennessee completely reversed stuff on Kentucky yesterday, turned the table on them 100%. Let's check out the numbers comparing what happened in Lexington on the left to what happened yesterday in Knoxville on the right. They won by 17 there, you win by 19 here. Field goal percentages flipped, three-point percentages flipped, rebounds, you were much better in rebounding the basketball, assists flipped, steals, blocks, you evened up there, turnovers, they went nuts, you played good defense, you cut down your own turnovers. Gentlemen, Tennessee played great, but I'm going to start with where they were playing and the advantage they got from that home court and that crowd yesterday. When Tennessee went up to Rupp, a lot of us said on this show, don't panic. That was a buzzsaw. How many teams could go in there? The way that crowd was behaving and into it. Mm-hmm. And I thought the folks in Orange yesterday did the exact same thing, gave the same advantage to Tennessee. Your thoughts on the difference home court advantage has made in this series this year?
Well, that environment was special yesterday. I know you guys have been even in more environments than I have, but that environment was electrifying. It did make an impact on a younger basketball team of Kentucky, some young guards. P.J. Washington getting foul trouble, he was a little bit amped up. It did have an effect on the outcome of the game, but and we're not doing this, but we can't take away of how great we played yesterday. That was one of our basketball games, but
we're going to get into that.
Was big time.
It's the rare opportunity for me to throw praise at the folks at home who are always saying, you don't praise us enough. So, praise. I thought the crowd was great. Isaiah, when you played at Tennessee, you had 4 years, you went to the NCAA tournament. You had some packed houses over there. What kind of difference does that make on a team in terms of a player stepping out there on the court when everybody's on top of you booing you at Kentucky versus everybody's got your back here at Knoxville? Talk to me about the impact that makes on a player.
It makes a big impact. I mean, you feed off the crowd's energy. So, and when it's negative energy, it can get some people down. You got certain players. I knew it was a rough game, going to be a rough game at Lexington. I would have never said we would have lost it, but they came off the controversial call at the LSU game. They very rarely lose a game there anyway, and then we had already beat them there before, and now we're number one. So everything was stacked against us on that one. And at the same time, when they won, I said, yeah, they beat us handily, but they won a home game. And that's kind of what we did here, but at least we reversed the role. It's kind of hard to come back from losing so badly and getting embarrassed so badly to turn it around and turn it into a beatdown for the other team. So I definitely take a hat off to them for that.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of the individual efforts yesterday. We got a graphic here, I think, if we can get to this. And we'll talk of these one by one, so we'll be back and forth off that graphic. But let's start. Josh Ward, I want to start with you on Grant Williams. 24 points yesterday, 8 from the free throw line. He get going to the free throw line time and again. Could have had more points. He missed a few yesterday. But 13 shots yesterday versus only 4 at Kentucky. Now, Kentucky didn't have Reed Travis, who really did a great job on him up there. How much was that an impact? John Calipari said no excuses. That didn't have anything to do with it. Your thoughts on Grant Williams' performance and whether or not that impacted the game yesterday, not having Travis for Kentucky?
Well, it probably helped for him to be a talented, experienced guy not there, but it's probably likely that he gets in foul trouble, right? If P.J. Washington's getting in foul trouble, Richards, Montgomery, they dealt with issues. Travis probably would have as well. But I think the real difference is you look at some of those numbers, and Grant Williams is getting more shots off. He's still getting to the free throw line. He's making more plays. I just thought he was more aggressive. He attacked like Kentucky did 2 weeks ago. And I think other players on Tennessee's basketball team benefited from Grant kind of leading the way because other guys did as well.
Had a slow start, had a spectacular second half.
Well, and the thing about Grant, and Isaiah knows, Grant's not a big guy. And so if Grant stays stationary, he's not only easier to guard with bigger bigs, but then help is easier to find him. What they did yesterday is they moved him around a lot more. And the guards and everybody else around him, there was just a lot more activity. And so Grant was getting the ball closer to the rim, and then he was moving with the help. Defense was not prepared to come help as quickly, which was able to him to get to his shots a lot quicker and get to the free throw line.
Mark, I got another question for you. Hang on, Mike Strange. I'm building to the crescendo, and you are the crescendo. But let's go back to that graphic if we could. If we've still got that, I want to point out P.J. Washington, who I asked you last week, is Tennessee going to be scared of him? Because that's what Kentucky players had said. And last year, Grant Williams had made a comment, which is why they were saying he was in their head. Well, 13 points yesterday, but 9 off free throws versus 23 points, and he really controlled that game at Rupp Arena. There were periods of that game where he could not be stopped. What did Tennessee do differently defensively against P.J. Washington yesterday?
Well, they were on the left shoulder, some at Rupp, but they were really on that left shoulder last night. But then the help and the double team was coming quicker. The double team was coming from big. Sometimes it would come from a guard. And what Kentucky didn't do, for one, he got in foul trouble, which was a big impact on it. But for Kentucky didn't move him around as much. Kentucky just threw it down into him, and our help defense was able to guard him better, just like Kentucky was against Grant and Rupp.
You guys keep referring to Kentucky in foul trouble. All I saw on Twitter yesterday was how there were no calls on Kentucky and they were all against Tennessee. Let's go back to one last graphic here. Jordan Bone, 27 points, career high, 11 of 15 from the field, 5 of 5 from three-point range, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a partridge in a pear tree. Mike Strange, your thoughts on Jordan Bone? There was a point yesterday in the broadcast where Bill Raftery and former Duke guy Grant Hill were comparing him to Bobby Hurley, one of the greatest college point guards ever. The fact that he is in that kind of consideration, just a spectacular tribute to the year he's having.
Well, Bobby Hurley probably didn't play many games better than Jordan Bone played yesterday, and he's almost single-handedly saved that game. I mean, Admiral didn't have a good shooting day. Lamonte Turner didn't have a good shooting day. Kyle Alexander, nothing from him offensively. For Jordan Bone to have that kind of game on that kind of stage was tremendous.
Isaiah, your thoughts on Bone, because there's so much talk about Schofield and Williams, Bone may be your best NBA prospect. A lot of the draft talk is centering on that. But another key with the way Bone's playing, what makes a difference in tournament play? What's important in March? Guard play. Bone, as great as Williams has played, and he could be SEC Player of the Year again, it's starting to look like Bone might be the main man over there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he's the point guard. He's the leader of the team. He's the coach on the court. As you say, when you get in the tournament, it comes down to coaching, and point guard is the coach on the floor. So he's the general. So, yeah. And if you cut the head off anybody, the body will fall. So that's just the general rule. Grant Williams not going to bring it up court and handle all the pressure that Bone handles. So, we come and go as he come and goes pretty much. He separated himself from the other guards, and, he's running the show, man.
He's our only guard that can attack downhill and get to the paint. No other guy can get to the lane and make plays for other people. Jordan Bone can do that. Kentucky goes an 8-0 run yesterday. Jordan Bone, with 13 minutes left, nails a huge three when Kentucky's on the run. He was the difference maker.
The amazing thing about Bone, and he personifies what is fun about this Rick Barnes way of building a team. Now, you're not signing 5 stars every year like Kentucky and putting it together and then they're gone in 7 months. So you're going to have peaks and valleys with this program as you build to different, crescendo again. But a guy like Jordan Bone, or it's a little like Wayne Chisholm when he got here, starts here and goes here, here. Holy smokes, how do you get up here? You're seeing that year after year improvement. and I've talked to some Kentucky fans and talked to one longtime Kentucky fan this week. They kind of miss that because now all those one-and-doners, they're forgotten. They run together. So I think Jordan Bone kind of symbolizes what Rick Barnes has done and is doing here at Tennessee. Let me show you. Let's talk about Rick Barnes and some amazing numbers very quickly here. Against Kentucky, Vols versus Cats, Barnes is now 5-4 versus Kentucky in his 4th year. And it's not like Kentucky's struggling, folks. 5-4, he's got a winning record against Kentucky. UT has won 5 of 6 at home versus Kentucky and 8 of their last 12 at home against Kentucky. You've won 4 straight at home under Rick Barnes against the Cats. That's not the longest streak, though. Our old analyst Don DeVoe here, he wouldn't like me using the word old. He won 7 straight against Kentucky at home. Ray Mears won 5 straight. Ray Mears won 4 straight. You see the periods of time when they did that. And then let's also look at some more Barnes stats here. UT's won 42 of their last 50 games, folks. 84%. I went back through the media guide. That was the best stretch I could find. There were some that were 41 wins out of 50, some that were 40. I didn't see another 42. UT has won 40 of their last 47 games. That is 85%. 52-12 over the last 2 years combined right now. That ties the second best 2-year mark in school history. The best mark, 55-16 between 06 and 08. And then they can win back-to-back SEC titles for the first time in school history. And they have the longest, they got a couple more for you that didn't have room on the graphic, longest home winning streak in the country now at 25 games. And if you're wondering when was the last time Tennessee had a top 10 versus top 10 game like that at home, you haven't had one, Thompson-Boling. You have to go back to 1981, and those Don DeVoe teams, they had LSU top 10, they lost, and they had Kentucky that year, and they beat them in 81. High times, enjoy them. When we come back, the big story yesterday we haven't gotten to yet, Tennessee's improving defense. We said 2 weeks ago it has to get better. It has. We'll discuss. We'll back.